Hello. So one thing I didn't mention in my last video is who I channel. And so aside from spirit guides, my spirit guides and those of my clients, the indwelling energy that I channel is identified as OE. And so I wanted to mention that before we get started here. So I'm actually asking if I'm meant to source one of the questions that I received from my email list for this. No. Okay. So I'm simply going to get started here with channeling and find out what message wants to come through and proceed from there. Okay? So let's find out what this video is going to be about. Okay, so what we want to mention here is we do intend to use this platform to share information that we feel is important. It is information that will hopefully support you as you are navigating the earth plane, and hopefully as well will offer you some inspiration, motivation to continue your own work and not be deterred by what is happening in the world. Okay, first, what we want you to please see within yourself is your own vessel. You have this human frame. It in itself is a vessel. And then there is an energy vessel. The energy vessel is what could be called the home for your soul, your spirit, as it integrates with your human body. This vessel, it is independent of the human body, even as it is a part of the human body. It is in a way as though a pod, a sort of a starship, if you will, because when the human body expires, the pod containing the soul, the spirit, is able to exit intact, and it is then optimally restored to its fullness, independent of, irrespective of the human body and the earth plane. Okay, why do you think that is important to know, to understand? It is because within this vessel, it is contained all the wisdom you can access in spirit, in soul. You perhaps then understand how it is that you have intuitive understandings. You see things you have not seen before, things that you are not privy to otherwise, things you have not been told, things you have not been shown. You hear things, you feel things, you smell and taste things, you simply know things. In this, we have identified each of the 6 clairsenses. And so in understanding that, you can see where that wisdom comes from. It is always available to you It is always accessible by you. It is a matter of understanding its presence, understanding how to give yourself permission to access it, to use your intuitive senses as they are reflections of your human senses, and receive the wisdom, receive the intelligence. We hope you can see, feel how that can be helpful to you, and also understand that this is for you to also see that it is something available to everyone. Every person who is a soul, a spirit, incarnate, has access to that wisdom. It is choosing to access it. Okay. Yes, I hope that makes sense. So I feel like what they were saying, without saying it, is that these are abilities that are available to all of us. They are not special gifts only for certain people. They are not special gifts only for certain people. Everyone can choose to access them. And how do we do that? We do that by being aware. Being aware equals being present, paying attention, feeling the difference between what it is to hear something in a human way as opposed to hear something in an intuitive way. Same thing with, excuse me, our sight, clairvoyance, right? So the difference between human sight and clairvoyance, paying attention to that, it really requires of us being almost a student of ourselves in a way, because we need to know ourselves well enough to know the difference, to know the difference between our human senses and our intuitive senses. Sometimes those differences can be very subtle, sometimes they can be very profound. And what we're hoping for each of you is that you will give yourself permission to notice these things. Begin to notice these things. In the noticing, you will notice more. In the noticing more, you will hone your intuitive skills, your intuitive abilities. And this will lead to other abilities shining through. What we would say is, in terms of the intuitive abilities, they are the basics, the foundation. And from there, all else comes. Yeah, they just showed me an equation. And I'm so glad they did, because I honestly wouldn't have remembered on my own. And the equation is clairvoyance plus clairaudience plus clairsentience. So clairaudience being clear seeing, clairaudience, clairvoyance being clear seeing, clairaudience being clear hearing, clairsentience being clear feeling. Now, when it comes to clairsentience, that clear feeling, that involves the emotions, so feeling emotions, and also sensations like, what does this pen feel like? Okay, so that equation, I would say, in what I've come to understand, is it equals mediumship. Those three things together are, I would say, most helpful when it comes to mediumship. So when someone exhibits strength in those three, chances are that they are a medium too. And can anyone be a medium? Absolutely. What does that indicate? That indicates that even though you might find that your your intuitive strength is clairvoyance, and that clairaudience and clairsentience, they come in second and third, really, and perhaps even far back. Perhaps they are not close in terms of their strength as compared to your clairvoyance. Fact is, like any muscle, we can strengthen those other two. And so by doing so, and by using our intentions, we then embark on learning to be a medium, welcoming that particular intuitive skill or skill, period, spiritual skill, divine skill, and adding it to our toolkit. So, yeah, interesting. I still feel like we're in the primer stage, or I guess I want to, yeah, I'm going to say primer in terms of this channel. I feel like the groundwork is being laid here. So I don't want things to be teachy, preachy. And I don't feel it will be, but it feels important to lay this out because it what we want you to understand is this is an inclusive experience, not exclusive, inclusive. That is why we bring this subject up. Okay, so what we're going to say is we feel that this is more than likely going to be the last of the educational portion of things. And we will continue from here in terms of speaking of those things that you perhaps would wish to hear. What we will also offer here is, do you have questions about those things that are of the spiritual nature? Do you have questions about those things that are universal in nature? And if so, perhaps you will pose your questions, so that we may answer them. Yeah, I like that. Thank you. That's basically what I did with my email list. I invited people to pose their questions. I was very clear because it was made clear to me. They were not to be personal questions. They're not human questions. They're not human questions in terms of, you know, what can I do to make my health better? That kind of thing. They're questions that are meant to be of a quote unquote higher nature. So things that are related to our spirituality, things that are related to our soul, to our expansion, to our evolution, to Earth's evolution, to what we are here to do on this planet in a collective way, and other big topics like that, big juicy topics. Okay, so yes, If you have a question or questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. If you aren't comfortable leaving them in the comments, I will put a link in the show notes. Are they called show notes? I'll put a link in the description for this video that sends you to a contact form on my website so that you can pose your question privately. Okay? All right. Thanks again for watching.